Everyone, isn't this such an exciting panel? Wait, am I the only one who's excited? If you're excited, please put your hand up. Okay, wonderful. So as was mentioned, I'm the moderator for today's session, and my name is Ciku Kimeria. So I'll start by introducing the amazing panelists. So first up, we have Neddy Amoga, who's a phenomenal filmmaker. And today, the main thing she's going to be talking about is a program that she runs called Cinema in Nature. And listen to this. This is so fascinating. I think some of you maybe have bumped into people following the program as they walk through Karura with headphones on, following forest trails. And guess what? As they're doing that, they're also learning about the people who fought for Kenya's independence. If that's not amazing, I don't know what is. Then next, yes, let's a round of applause. Then next we have the legendary Eric Wainaina. So, round of applause. Wonderful musician, composer, so many accolades that he has. And today what he's here to talk about is his work with the Nairobi Musical Theatre Initiative, but a particular work that he's doing right now, which is a black-brown love story. So it's a love story of Indian Kenyan and black Kenyan origin, and it has music from both cultures, so just celebrating this unique Kenyan identity. And then last, so round of applause. And last but not least, we have Mutua Matheka, he's such a ground-making photographer. So his work is really, when I think of him, I think he's someone with an architect's eye and a storyteller's soul. So the pictures he captures are, when I think of the projects you've done of Unscrambling Africa, so showing different African cities through your unique insider gaze, just the way you represent different places and give them value and explain them in your own way and show the complexity and beauty. I think it's so wonderful. So round of applause for Mutua Matheka, please. So first question, which will go to each of the panelists and we can just answer in this way, is tell us a bit in 2 minutes. So I've just given a very short spiel about what you're currently working on, but give us a little bit about the current projects that I mentioned. So 2-minute spiel on what you're doing, yeah.
Thank you, Ciku. So as Ciku said, I'm working with Cinema in Nature, and probably you're wondering, is it like a big screen in nature or what? But it's an audio film. We tell the stories of the women and men who fought for the struggle for independence. It's not a casual conversation that you'll meet somebody and be like, hey, by then Mau walikuwa wana go through what, you know? So we are creating a space where we can tell these stories, inspire people, educate people, and just have them stay informed about their history and what it took for us to be where we are right now. And I am so glad that the reception has been great. Since January last year, we've reached an audience of 3,500 people. We've done 70 shows at Karura, and one of our most recent highlight was we did 2 shows, one in Nairobi and another in London in Richmond Park on the same weekend. And it was, the 2 shows were totally sold out. So it really tells us that whatever we are onto and whatever we are trying to talk about is indeed at the core of the Kenyan people and even the diaspora, and also the other side of the history as well. So yeah.
Thank you, that's wonderful. That's amazing work, Neddy. And over to you, Eric.
Check one, check. Yeah, so I'm writing, I'm singing, I'm producing, but the thing that's bringing me here today is about 10 years ago, we started a thing called the Nairobi Musical Theatre Initiative. Because there's if you've had any interest in musical theatre or you were born performing or anything of that kind, you know that right now, whenever we're asked to do a musical, it's always Grease or The Sound of Music or something like that. And I felt like if someone asked me to do the Grease or Sound of Music, I'd have to slit my wrists. And so we have all these great stories that we want to tell. And while we really respect the musicals that have gone before, as Kenyans, we feel like there's a bunch of us who are theatre-leaning, and there's a bunch of writers who are music-leaning. can we put our heads together? And so at the moment, we've got 14 different musicals, brand new musicals in development, with about 35 different writers, fellows, so combinations of writers and composers. It's been a wonderful journey, and the excellent Alea Kasam, who introduced us, is actually the book writer of the musical that we're working on called Pani Puri, and our other collaborator is a young gentleman called Rushab Nanda, and I guess we'll talk more about that later.
Amazing. Thank you, Eric.
So for me, I've been particularly interested in cities and just urbanity in the African context for maybe 15 years now. And with my main subject being Nairobi, that I've photographed since 2010, when I picked up a camera, I always am interested about what people know about the places they live in or the places that they travel to, and finding interesting ways that they can see the same thing but in a different way, so that they can think about it different. Most of my work is around shifting perspectives and creating connection to things that we already have. And so even with the exhibition that I just did called Fragments, it was about showing people the same Nairobi that they've seen, probably in a different eye, but also having people experience it in a very different way. And we're happy that, you know, the report was very good in the way people experienced this, because I think for most people, the way they got to experience this show was in a way that they have not experienced any show or anything surrounding Nairobi before. And we had maybe 4,000 people come in the 3 weeks that we were open, which was fantastic. But yeah, that's Fragments in a nutshell.
That's amazing. Round of applause. And my next question. So all the modes that the three of you are using, it's so clear that you all have a passion for Kenya, you have a passion for storytelling, but completely different modes. So I want to know, where did it start for each of you? Maybe Neddy, you are that child walking through the forest, making up stories. Maybe, I don't know, Eric, you were singing in the shower from when you were, I don't know, a baby. Mutua, I know there's a story about you and crayons when you were 3. So I want to know, because everyone here is wondering, how do you end up in the paths that you're in? So what's your origin story?
I promise you, I didn't start at 3 like him. So the thing is, majority of our team are actually filmmakers. Now, there was the thought of, we want to tell this story, we want to tell the stories of our history. But if any filmmaker is here, you know how expensive it is to make a movie. So then I would say part of it was, as we're struggling to figure out where to get resources, we're having an audio film made, because at least it's not too expensive, it's within reason, but let's just begin here first and see how it goes. Then we started doing exhibitions with the audio film. But then exhibitions are also expensive, and having people sit through theater to listen to an audio film for 1 hour is an uphill task. So we had to become creative about it and ask ourselves, so how do we get this to people without making history boring? And that's how we incorporated the tray, the headphones, and also the picnic at the end of it, so that people just find a way to unwind. Because listening to stories of history is not comedy. It's such a heavy story. So you need to at least come out of it and just, remind yourself, I'm here right now. I'm not in 1955. So I'm safe, I'm okay. This is not happening now. I'm just being reminded about it. So that's how we came up with an experience. So we don't just do a show, it's a whole experience, an immersive experience that when you get into it, you're really into it. And once you're done, you're like, wow, okay, there's something to carry home from here.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. And when she says making films, let's clap. And when Neddy says making films is expensive, she knows, because you've made many, many films. So this is, after having done this, realizing that you need another innovative way that you can reach a wider audience. So that's amazing. And Eric?
I think with the musicals, So is this? Oh, okay, we're on now. With the musicals, so I went to a school that did a musical every single year, and so thankfully I was always exposed to them. And then I was in the choir, you know, and that's part of the thing as well. But when I was about 19, 20, we had an opportunity I was singing for an a cappella group that went to the UK in search of fame and fortune and found neither. But at one point we'd got this really cool gig. There's a musical called Once on This Island that was playing on London's West End, and they were looking for musicians to sing in the pub after the show ends to kind of keep the audiences there. The pub was up in the foyer. And so we auditioned for the gig, and we were at one point after about 6 months, we were playing that gig about 2 or 3 times a week. So what would happen was invariably you'd go and watch the show. You go and watch the Once on This Island. And so I probably saw it, honestly, 50 or 60 times, right? And then, as fate would have it, soon after, we signed a lease to this wonderful apartment in the north of London. Someone came and asked us at our gig, do you have work permits? And of course we didn't. And so there we were, probably eating 1 meal a day. And then I would spend time at the piano trying to put stories to music, because I'd seen Once on This Island 60 times. I'd been in a school that had done musicals so much, and I was broke and had nowhere to go. And so we just sat there all day, and I would write and write and write. And when I went to music college, they offered a music elective. It was the first time it had ever happened, and so I took it. And I started working on this musical with this one lady. It was going to be the story of Samson and Delilah. And then she called me up one day, sort of 6 months into the process, and broke up with me. She said, like, Eric, it's not you, it's me. And so that's sort of how that happened. Then I came back and we did the musical. It was produced by Sterling Quality. This is 2003, but by this point I'd moved on and was trying to tell the Luanda story. And so I can go on talking about that, but you said 2 minutes, so Mutua.
Yeah.
No, don't worry, 2 minutes was for the first one. You have more time for this one.
I can go on.
Yes, you can go on.
Yeah, just like you said, for me, I think I did start early. And mostly credit to my mom, because my mom was those kind of moms that if you looked at anything with any slight interest, she gets you a tutor for that thing. You go touch a piano like this, she's like, I think they need piano lessons. So when I was a kid, there's so many things. Like I used to have an art teacher who I would take my sketches to every week to just look at them and be like, okay, scale is good, color is not good, practice this. And she never gave me any assignment. It's just I had to be sketching every week because I had to give her sketches for the week. So with my mom, there was so many things like that happening, and she always emphasized like utilizing your talents and things like that. So in my life, I think I grew up knowing that there's what you're going to study for. It might be what you're talented in, but it might not. Because what I found out later is, as much as she really insisted on the talent, and even when I was in School of Architecture, are you still drawing? Are you still? And I'm like, I'm trying to focus on this degree. She's like, but you know, art is your talent, and you need to also keep working at it. I didn't realize that she never thought of the art as like a career. She was like, this is your talent, is the thing that you do, but you need to take it seriously, but you also have your career. So when I switched from architecture into photography, she was a bit shocked. She was like, okay, but are you going to be okay financially? I said, I think so. She was like, okay, fine. As long as you don't have to ask me for money, go ahead. So I've kind of always had art in some shape or form in my life all through, both as a way to express, but now also as a way to, make a point and also make a living. Yeah.
That's amazing. She sounds like such a phenomenal person. Yeah. Neddy, so for you, given that you've had opportunities in the other route, which was films that you work on it in the background, then it goes out to the audience, and maybe you just see reviews and responses online, and then now you have this experience which is so immersive, people going through the trails. What would you say are the differences you're spotting between the two ways, when you've done it the traditional way or versus in this way now where you're going through the trails and this form of storytelling?
I think one major difference is the expectations that I came with from film, or the audience comes with from like the filmmaking world, the world of going to theater or cinema, versus the expectations that I find audiences with here in Cinema in Nature are quite very different. I would say the audience that comes to Cinema in Nature comes with the curiosity of, I want to find out what exactly is this thing. Because even explaining to somebody without them really having experience sometimes doesn't do the justice of what we do. So when the audience comes for Cinema in Nature, it comes with an open mind of, I want to find out what this is and see if I will like it. But when we make a movie and people are coming to theater and it's comedy, someone is coming with the expectation of, I should laugh. I have to enjoy this. It has to be funny. So I think there's been a bit of finding out that, people are actually open to just coming to experience without carrying so much baggage, so much expectation of, we are putting this on you and you had better make me feel this way or else, So I think that has been one of the major difference that I've noticed.
And quick follow on, what have been some of the surprising or most memorable reactions you've had? Things that just happened and you're thinking, oh wow, I thought it would affect people in this way, but I didn't even think of this other way.
We've had people who, at the end of the audio film, have actually shed tears. People who have been like, oh my God, do you know my great-grandfather was this and that? Do you know Kwetu, there's a tunnel that the Mau Mau used to use during the colonial time, and it still is there till now. And we're like, what? Wait. The excitement is, can we see that? Can we? And just having people come through, and each of them is just, the reaction is like quite very different. Sometimes we have this soundscapes in the Nini, and part of it there's like the Kikuyu folk songs, Mau Mau related, and it will be like a group of 50 people breaking into a dance spontaneously. There's no cue. You've not been told now, okay, sasa ni time ya kudance. It's just people having headphones just going. Like everyone is so into it, they are not aware even their neighbor is also dancing. Moments like that, you're like, oh my goodness, what is this? Yeah.
That's amazing. And Eric, I'll come back to you. I want us to go back to the previous question on the origin story, because I feel like it was more to go on and we have time. So you can pick up from the origin story of musicals. So I think we were shortly after you had been dumped, had come back. I think we'll pick up there. And then the second question after that would be, now, why this specific story? And are there any tensions on this one? But don't worry, I'll remind you the follow-up. We can go back to origin story.
So I came back from music college. I think it was about 2003. We produced the musical at the National Theatre, and then we began to see that. The thing about musical theatre that is interesting is that very often people will do a musical where there's a spoken scene, and then at the end of that scene they'll sing a song. But that's I guess we could call that a play with music. The whole thing about musical theatre is that plot, character, everything gets advanced by lyric and music. And so, like, traditionally they say, in a musical, people burst into song at a point in time where their emotions are so heightened that it's the only thing they can do. But you're seeing a lot of musicals now which are through sung. top to bottom, or through rapped. Like Hamilton probably only has like one line of dialogue, and even that is probably set to rhythm. But sort of, then I did a sort of several different versions of the Luanda story. We started off with a traditional story, then turned it into a modern retelling, where Luanda, instead of being a warrior, was a DJ on a slum radio station. That then became More Fire, which we performed in New York and performed here as well. I had a really long run at the Go Down. But one of the things that became clear, someone came up to me and said, oh, the music is fine, but the book sucks. The book is terrible. And so the book is what people say. It's the story. And so I took that, the Sundance Theatre Institute called me up and they're like, hey, look, we're doing some work in East Africa. We hear you're doing some work with musicals. Can we appoint a dramaturg who's like a script editor to sort of help you figure this thing out? And after 2 or 3 years of rigorous work, and I'm telling you that we would have Skype calls. Anyone remember Skype?
Yes.
Oh, Skype. Oh, Skype, you were there, and then I don't know what you did. Anyway, so, and there would be 2 or 3 hour phone calls and or Skype calls, and it was rigorous. And at the end of it, I was there like, look, somebody has to give me an honorary master's for this, number one. But then also, her name was Roberta Levito, or is Roberta Levito. And I said to Roberta, why don't you come here to Kenya? Because there's a lot of us thespians, singers or musicians who have stories that they want to tell, and put us through this process. So that was sort of 2016. And it's funny when like minds meet, here was someone who was coming in all the way from LA, but because she was running this program at NYU Abu Dhabi, it literally cost us $100 to bring her here, so something that was meant to have cost us thousands of dollars. And a friend of mine who has put her up at his establishment, and it's just this thing when you've got a desire to do stuff, things kind of fall into place. At that, in 2016, we started off with sort of stimulation of ideas, had a couple of writers in a room, and then she brought on colleagues of hers from NYU, NYU's graduate musical theatre writing program, and they would come in and we had sort of 3 or 4 interactions, and then COVID did what COVID did, It was funny, when we started in 2016, we said, in 2020, we're gonna have a festival of new work.
Oh, wow.
Hey. 2020 came.
And the world shut down.
And that was that, So, but so the work continues. So let me carry on to the next question about the musical that we're working on with Alea. When I was doing my O-levels, we had to choose between sciences and arts. And so at that time, I thought I was going to be a doctor. So I chose the sciences. And in my class at St. Mary's, there was 23 brown kids and 7 black kids. I don't know why the black kids are like, we're not doing sciences. I don't know why. So here I am in a class with Jasdeep, with Nikunj, with Manvir. We're just like, it's just, these are my boys, And I remember, and so we hung out quite a bit. Carnival at one point was having a thing on Saturday nights that a lot of brown Kenyans would go for, and people started to call it disparagingly Bombay night. But then, because us guys like to party, suddenly we're showing up because you can't stop us just because you're playing Bhangra. We're gonna be there. So we show up at Carnival and and loving the music. And cut forward a bit, there was an article in the papers that used to be called The Cutting Edge, or Watchman. Is it still there? It's like I mentioned a fax. The Cutting Edge. Or is it newspaper? Did I lose you at newspaper? Anyway, so. Okay, so The Cutting Edge was a column that people used to write in and complain about something or the other, or praise something or the other. And this one guy wrote, and he was like, oh, I've just shown up in India for college, and I miss home, I miss the people, I miss the food. And then I look at his name, and his name is Nikunj Shah. And they're like, hang on, Nikunj. Are you saying to me that you, as a brown person, consider Kenya home and India a distant, faraway land? I then got to talk to a lot of my brown friends as well. I've been to India, I think, 2 or 3 times, which is 2 or 3 times more than Kenyan Indians have been to India.
True. Many haven't gone.
You know? So I was like, oh, that's fascinating. So, you guys are Kenyan as I am. Okay, fine. Why? And I don't know why this was my next logical step, but why then aren't we marrying each other? I'm sure there's many sort of things I could have asked before, but that's where I went. And I remember there was a friend of mine as a bass player, and he was telling me about he was dating this brown girl, and he and the father had gotten to know each other quite well. And one day he shows up and he's like, gathers up the guts. He's like, Baba Nani, I think, in fact, I know I would like to marry your daughter. And he looks at him and he says, you know, I really like you, but the only thing that's standing in your way, and then he touches his wrist and says this. I was like, whoa, nigga, that's dry. That guy just stood up and told you that to your face at the dining table.
He could have lied.
Anyway, so it's always fascinated me. And so when the opportunity arose, Ale and I had a conversation about this, and then Rushab had been my student at one point, and we're just like, look, this is a really fascinating story. I really would like to pursue it. One of the challenges that we've had is that it's been really okay. Other than so, I've asked myself, do I have the authority as a black guy to write a musical that has these Indian songs or Kenyan Indian songs? And I really grappled with it about sort of the purity of it. But then when I sort of had this conversation with Rushab is a 26-year-old brown guy who has a knowledge of Bollywood, but his favorite music is house. You know? And he's like, if you're talking about a brown guy like me, then it doesn't have to be Hindustani music. It doesn't have to be, you know. So yes, we listen to the Bollywood hits. We listen to stuff by A.R. Rahman. We listen to stuff by the Merchant Brothers. We listen to all this stuff. But then we need to approach it as people writing from our context. And so, at the point that we are right now, we're about to embark on a music workshop where now we've written all this material. We'll call in a couple of black and brown musicians and sort of ask them to riff on the stuff that the stuff that we've written and sort of dive into their wealth of expertise. Mutua, I'm going to let you speak. But the other challenge that we've just had is that casting this thing has been hard.
Oh, why?
Because of the societal stigma. And Ale and Rushab will attest to this. Fine. I mean, of course, Kenya is majority black, of course.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to me to find out from that Kenya's brown population. If I asked you, how many Kenyan Indians do you think there are? How many people think it's like 1 million? How many people think it's like 5 million? I'm going the wrong direction?
Somewhere in the middle?
Or more. Okay, like 10? 10, 15? You even shook your head like this, yeah? 20? Yeah? Out of Kenya's 50. It's going to shock you, and I'm so glad you're sitting down. There are only 100,000
What?
people of brown descent in Kenya.
Okay, that's shocking. I thought you were going to say somewhere between 1 and 5 million.
Yeah. You know? And so, so when you start there, then you're there like, okay, so now you walk up to a brown person and they're like, hey, we're doing this wonderful musical about this two families, this brown family and this black family. They've known each other forever, and the fathers are in business together, and the mothers tolerate each other, and then their kids fall in love, and can you be in the musical? The guys are like, hey, umeenda sana. So, and then when you add the fact of the sort of small population, right? It's been hard, and so that's one of the challenges that we're having to overcome, to find the talented people in this small pool who are willing to have this conversation.
Yeah. Wow, thank you so much, Eric. And Mutua, I have 2 questions for you. Then I'll plead with the MC for time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience, because I think his response will get us to the end of the official time. Can we have my... Okay. So we might unfortunately not have Q&A, because I do want to give Mutua a chance also to speak about his work. So Mutua, the 2 questions I have for you. One, there's a quote of yours, which unfortunately I'll butcher it, but it's something about the work you do is about using the present to then reflect the future or something of the sort. So I want you to reflect on that quote in the context of Fragments. Then the second question, still reflecting on Fragments, is what are the stories you chose to tell, and which are the ones you chose not to tell, and why?
Okay. Yeah, so I think part of my general outlook on life is I always find that as a person, my head is very much in the clouds, but I like to be rooted somewhere. So I found that when I can't do well as a person that's constantly on the move, my mind needs somewhere where it considers home, and then have the freedom to just keep roaming. And so even with my work, I kind of look at it the same way, in that I like my work to be rooted in my idea of home, which is where I am. But then at the same time, I'd like it to reflect the future. Like, I don't like my work to always look like, oh, that's that place, so that's Kimathi Street as it is now. So sometimes I do like to add things and elements to my work that will be, that's Kimathi Street, but what's that thing? Or maybe in the way that I edit or something like that. I just like people to look and just see something more than, always see something more than what it is at the moment. And so even in the way specifically with Fragments, I wanted people to experience it as much as it was very much how it's things, it's images that I'd photographed in Nairobi from 2011. And so in the way that I decided to show, I wanted it to feel, I wanted it to just blow people in the way that they experience it, which is why, for anyone that might not know what I'm talking about, we built this mirror box in a parking lot in the junction. And this mirror box, well, was a triangle box. And it was mirrors on 2 sides and screens on 1 side. And what I wanted people to feel is that when they get in, and we are showing these time-lapse videos that are moving quickly and reflecting, and they have it, I wanted people to feel like you're inside a kaleidoscope. But because I knew that that would be a trippy experience, we made music. We recorded a lot of sounds of Nairobi, which is why I really connected with, you know, the experience being personal. Like, we recorded sounds of the city from everywhere, different places in the CBD. We worked with Blinky Bill, who made the music, so just gave him all the sounds, and I was like, whatever inspires you, make something from it. So he chose this sequence that we recorded in town, where in Kencom, the Kanges with Beba, 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 Beba. So actually the whole song ended up being called Beba, Beba. And there was an accident, so there was a people quarreling, like Nduthi guys were quarreling over there. So there's a bit inside that where there's quarrels in the music. And that's just, for me, how I feel Nairobi is. It's chaotic, beautiful, all at the same time. And I really wanted people to experience that, even though the visuals are really throwing them all over. But hopefully you have these headphones, even though you're inside the box as 5 people, you have these headphones that make the experience very personal. And so you're hearing this Beba Beba, and hopefully it kind of grounds you, brings you back to be like, oh, I can feel the Nairobiism in the thing. And so I've always kind of wanted to do that, whether it's in Easter eggs that I will kind of throw in there for the people that if you know, you know. But I always want people to discover something new, like look at it a year later and be like, oh, I never noticed that you actually did this and this and this, or I never noticed that you added this sequence in the images that makes me remember something specific that I didn't think about. So in my work, I do like for that to happen, not for it to be fully grounded in the present, because I actively try to not consider myself a documentary photographer, even though one thing that I realized, somebody told me when in Fragments that I'm sort of becoming a historian, which I didn't know what I felt about it. So I think I'm a reluctant historian in that the work that I do, yes, is recording history, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be like, this is history as it happened. I'm just putting the things out and hoping they make you feel a certain way about something and hoping they show you something you haven't seen before. Yeah. What was the second thing?
Oh, sorry, the other one was what you chose to tell and what you chose to leave out.
Yeah, okay, hopefully that was kind of answered in there, because in the same way, like there are some things that, for me, I'm a very visual person, so a lot of what I end up putting in, when I feel like it's visually not jumping out and saying the thing that I wanted to do, then I might end up not having it show. So, or maybe if the timing is not right for that thing, because I feel like with some creative work, like I feel like creative work doesn't really have a time frame. It's not like current affairs or news work where it has to come out when it's fresh. It can come out, it can have more meaning 5 years later or 10 years later or immediately. And so sometimes it's like this piece of work, I don't feel like the time is ready for it to have the most impact. Maybe the time will be ready 10 years from now. I don't know also. It's like the feeling will come when it comes. And with Fragments, it was one of those things that it wasn't the plan to show it last year until it was the plan. So after we hit the streets, I felt like after that June, in fact, after June 25th, I went home and I was like, I think the exhibition that I want to do is going to be this specific show of Nairobi, because I really want people to reconnect with Nairobi, but in a different way. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I want to give a round of applause, a huge round of applause to the panelists. You guys have been phenomenal. And then I also want to apologize to everyone. We didn't get to do Q&A, so I'll volunteer that you will find them. You will find the panelists here. I'm sure they're such interesting people that I'm sure many of you have follow-up questions. So I encourage you, if everyone just stays a few more minutes, that people can get to engage with you one-on-one. But yes, thank you. Another round of applause for you guys. You're awesome.